So my name is Jolie Kim. I'm a senior product manager at HubSpot in Service Hub specifically, and really focusing on feedback surveys and our future of feedback going forward. Today, I'm going to be sharing a deck, hopefully not too long. I'll try to keep it under 20, but I will kind of go over our mission, our evolving mission, and what are some of the things that we are improving in our product, at least for the next, looking forward to the next 6 months at least. So hopefully I'll get some feedback from our feedback survey session. and then please use the Q&A to post questions throughout, because I would definitely want to circle back on those throughout the presentation as well. Okay, let me start sharing my screen. Okay, cool. I will try to put this in presentation mode. Okay, cool. So feedback surveys, I would call it a lunch and learn, just a casual format. So I'll go through our mission, our customers, what are some of the customer problems we're interested in solving based on a lot of the community forum upvotes and roadblocks logged from our CSMs. And I'll show you what's coming in our plan. So our mission for feedback surveys is helping organizations retain and grow their customers better by understanding them deeply at scale. So today our product is a comprehensive feedback solution across, create from scratch, which is a custom survey, customer support for CES questions or customer satisfaction, and NPS, more focused on like those proactive customer experience and customer success use cases. And our customers, who are we solving for? We know that there's a variety of different job functions who rely and use feedback data. We know revenue operations or operations. They support go-to-market teams by driving collection and reporting so that they can take action to improve the customer experience. Customer success and support managers are more on the receiving end of that feedback and knowing what to do with it, understanding what are the loudest things our customers are saying so I can better act on them to improve my service level or either improve retention of our customers and making sure that they're happy. Marketing also, I find a really good group of users who use feedback surveys because they often use feedback as part of their engagement strategy to improve the overall CX and product experience. And I think going forward into 2025, we will focus more on I would say, the insights experience and starting to more focus on that after we have such a good, a lot of features already created for the better editing experience so far. So we're looking more to focus on delivering value for the people who receive feedback data and act on them. But I'll share more of that later in the slides. So pain points, what we're solving for. So I've realized there are 5 main key problems talking to a lot of customers and looking through like a lot of the support and feedback data is that feedback could be better integrated with HubSpot. So regards to our data models and workflows. So we understand that feedback could be better tied with tickets or deals or companies, just the rest of the associations with HubSpot objects. Workflows is another key thing that I did recognize over time, and more specifically, how do I automate feedback collection across touch points, reacting to changes in contacts and deals and so forth. There's editing features that we do see an opportunity to improve. So asking different things based on what people say, that's logic. We released the dependent fields earlier in March. I did want to circle back on this and ask the crowd how that was and if it solved most of your concerns. So I'll circle back on that later, but please comment. I do recognize styling as a consistent thing. I think more for marketers and more for companies who have hard regulations, especially like banking, so forth, who have strict guidelines on their brand standards. Third and fourth is kind of more going into like forward-looking customer problems, but it's insights. We understand that tagging is very manual and efficient, so how do we automate some of that? But also we have so much data already collected throughout our conversations and emails and meetings and chats. How do we have more of a complete understanding of customer feedback outside of surveys? Is something that we're also trying to think about in the future maybe, but no commitments there. Again, this is all based on a lot of the customer votes in the ideas forum. So thank you, keep on doing that. We look at this to prioritize our roadmap. And I'll go into like one by one. So we know that feedback is disconnected. CS leaders often find it really hard to filter NPS scores relevant for their region or product or rep. And support managers find it hard to report CSAT by rep or ticket. And this is something that we want to improve visibility on. And we're trying to improve the ticket association for feedback as well, for CSAT specifically. I know we do it for CS surveys, but we want to be able to extend that to CSAT. So thank you for your feedback. The problem around customer workflow, better integrating with HubSpot workflows, is the fact that I want to easily collect feedback across different touch points, reacting to changes in context, deals, or companies. And today it's unfortunately a lot of tool toggling that I've come to realize through a lot of the customer calls, because you need to create a survey, you need to create a list, you need to create a workflow to enroll contacts in that list, and then you trigger a survey to contacts who are a member of that list. And what we're saying is maybe we can reduce a lot of these steps if we offer a send email survey action in the workflows, so that you can potentially do a lot less tool toggling. So that is something that we're actively planning to do. This is styling, aligning with our brand standards. And this is something also we're trying to improve flexibility and customization. The last one is that we come to learn that feedback insights are very manual and inefficient or even costly. So today, I know that tagging feedback is very manually slow and tedious. I kept on hearing that topics and key phrases help me understand what customers are saying the loudest and figure out whether churning or leaving. We do understand that manually tagging all of this is still very manual. And I've come to realize that some customers have found really creative ways to solve this using AI, like Anthropic, for example. And often the cost with that is like money and time and tool toggling, but it's also not really connected with the rest of HubSpot. So we know that this is a problem area that we can potentially improve on. Maybe next year, no commitments, but this is still on our radar on the customer problems we want to solve. So going into some of our plans, some of them are actively being developed, some of them are still being discovered. But the object association specifically to companies and tickets are something that we are going to work on. And hopefully we get a lot of feedback from it. And send survey email action for workflow is something that we are actively trying to scope out as well. Company object association, we will assume maybe around the end of Q4. We're actively developing it right now, and followed with ticket object association sometime Q1 of next year, and send survey action from workflow sometime next year, Q1 as well. So to kind of go through each one is average NPS scores at company level, but also the company object association with it. We want to make it easier for a lot of the customer success managers or leaders, or et cetera, to better understand their average NPS rolled up by company level. We've talked to some customers and realized it takes them 3 weeks to average calculate average NPS scores using webhooks and Zapier, and that's something that we do not want to do for our customers. So hopefully we can bring that time to value down, along with the ticket object association. Yes. So what we're building is triggering a survey from ticket pipelines so that customers can associate each submission to a ticket. That is also being developed right now. The current state is that CSAT is not associated with tickets, so that's something that we want to fix and improve on. Same with the trigger survey via workflow. We are thinking about sending a survey email as an action accessible from the workflows feature, to reduce a lot of the tool toggling that you currently do in creating lists and enrolling people in that list and creating a custom property to trigger a survey from that list is a lot of steps, we realize. So hoping to solve that as well. Kind of going to the future of feedback. This is not a roadmap, this is not a commitment, but this is something that we would want to think about in the future to better help our customers. And mockups are only meant to elaborate problems, not solutions. So this is by far no means the final thing. But we do realize a lot of the problems that result from it's very manual to tag. We have response tags, but you need to tag it one by one. And people are asking, how do we automate tagging? So this is something that we're kind of looking into, but how can we make tagging like more automated? And how do we summarize feedback at a level that feels more comfortable to you? So the problem we want to solve is, service or CX leaders have often difficulty in identifying patterns and topics of what people say, and tagging every submission is very manual and time inefficient. So how do we organize it in a meaningful way, like topics or summarized at company level, is something that we would want to actually follow up with some of you if you raise your hand, and please fill out the survey that we're sending. But if you want us to reach out to you to kind of partner with you on our future roadmaps or solutions that we can build together, I would love to do that. So fill out the survey if you want us to reach out. But that's kind of pretty much it for now. That was only 15 minutes. I can stop sharing.
Yeah, no worries. So lots of love in the chat, especially for the associations stuff. Also for workflows. Sounds like a lot of people are sending marketing emails with a button that links to a survey in it. That's the current workaround, which is pretty clever. But yeah, everyone, just to reiterate what Julie just said, the survey Deanna just dropped and pinned in the chat. If you are interested in talking more with Julie and her team, there's a little opt-in in that survey, and we will be sharing that with her afterwards. So if you wanna meet with them and talk about feedback survey stuff, they are interested in your feedback, as it turns out. So Julie, do you want to hop into the Q&A now, or is there anything else you want to do first?
We can hop into the Q&A.
Okay. Yeah, we have some questions here. Everybody, if you want to head over to the Q&A, I'm working through these most upvoted to least upvoted. Still plenty of time to put your questions in there if you have a question that you don't see. But yeah, I'll give it to a count of like 10, and then I'll sort it. Okay, we'll say that was 10. All right, so the biggest, the most upvoted question is from Scott. He says, can feedbacks be triggered from custom object properties?
Not yet. That's something that it's in the backlog, and we will want to start after tickets and companies. Cool. We're going to start with the default objects first.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. Magnus asks, will it be possible to jump to a different step in a survey based on conditional logic?
A different survey?
A different step in the survey.
A different step in the survey. Have you? Who was that?
Magnus.
Magnus. Oh yes. Have you used? Oh, I remember. Have you used the dependent fields, and did that not work for you?
We'll give Magnus a chance to respond in the chat. Or anyone else would love to hear your thoughts on conditional step logic versus dependent fields. We'll come back to that one. Let's see. All right. Mary asks, my biggest blocker for using the feedback surveys is that I have to give blanket permission to create properties to users who can't be trusted to not create random properties on other objects.
I need to get that. I didn't get that one.
So Mary Jordan Smith says, my biggest blocker for using the feedback surveys is that I have to give blanket permission to create properties to users who can't be trusted to not create random properties on other objects. So I'm not super familiar with the permissioning here, but it sounds like in order to build out a survey with all the necessary questions and things, people need permission to create properties, which is not a thing she wants to give access to pretty broadly. If that makes sense.
Oh, so is the concern there for people who have create and edit access to surveys, you're concerned about giving them blanket permissions to create all properties because you want more control. Okay. That's the first time I've heard that one. I would love to follow up.
Cool.
It seems like it has 8 votes too.
Yeah. So Mary and your 8 friends, if you want to fill out the survey for today, and have Julie and her team follow up with you. Sounds like there's more to explore there. Magnus has weighed in the chat. So going back to the conditional step skipping, he says it would be great to jump to a different step, not just showing a different question, i.e. to be able to skip some questions. So I think the new form builder does this. You can build in logic where based on one response, you can jump to different steps in the survey, or the form, I should say. Scott also weighs in. He says, dependent/conditional sections, whole groups of questions, would be a great upgrade. Qualtrics had this and was a thing we were giving up going to HubSpot. So I am so sad to admit that I have not played around a lot with the fancier features in feedback surveys, Julie. How do the dependent fields work? What does that look like?
Yeah, so maybe I can just quickly show what it looks like. And I understand dependent fields as in public beta, so people do need to opt into it.
Oh, okay.
So I checked, and we have a little less than 3,000 users so far. So we would definitely want to bump up that number to get more feedback on it, just to kind of understand if that is enough or that's not enough. So I'm just trying to go into the surveys. Yes, let me start sharing my screen. I'm just doing this live. I'm being really hacky right now. But I think that's all the point. So let's say I want to, like, I'm a choose yes or no. If no, I want to show a different question. So I have, I can do a drop down here. So I have yes, no. And like, depending on what people select here, I want to add logic. So let's see. I need to connect it. So I connected it. I connected the question with the property here. So that's good. And then I can proceed to logic. So to this question, if the question contains any of yes, then do what? Like, I want to show them, like, what is a favorite color question? Like, showing different questions based on what people answer from the previous question is something that we can do. Does that solve most of your needs or no?
So in this here, is it under then show, is it just one property you can show or hide based on this response? Or can you add multiple here? Because I think if I'm understanding people correctly, What they're wanting is to have like a group of questions that appears or disappears based on a
group of questions. Okay, then that's like that comes with conditional logic, more similar to the forms feature that they just rolled out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So blue, red, gray, yellow. So I'll just create this and proceed. Yes, so it would look something like this. You're previewing a conditional question. Clear the preview value when you wish to continue. So clear preview. Okay. So you can do this. You can just do one question at a time.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Let us know, folks who had that question, if that answers your question. I'm going to move on to the next one. Let's see. Jerry asks, any info on being able to send more than one reminder to survey recipients that haven't yet completed the survey?
More than one reminder to survey recipients that haven't yet completed the survey. We do have this feature. It's called Send Reminder Surveys, and I think it's available for, a second. Let me check something quickly before I say the wrong thing. So we have the Send Reminder Survey available for custom surveys and MPS surveys, but not for CES and CSAT, if that's what you're asking.
And is that, can we see what that looks like? Is it just like after a certain number of days, it sends a standard reminder email?
Yeah. So, a second. I'm just trying to demo something. I can't find it now, but it is in the custom survey in CSAT. I wish I could. Yeah.
So is it just one reminder email after a certain number of days or something, or can you set up a series of reminders? What?
You can send a series of reminders. So you can set it to say recurring 1 month or 2 months or 3 months. You can do that.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah.
Jerry, I think that gets to what you were asking, Jerry, but let us know if it does not. Sorry, did I interrupt you? Was there more you wanted to say on that? Okay.
Lindsay in the chat says, I think they're asking more than one reminder, like one at 7 days after the first one went out, and then a final reminder after another 7 days later. So 3 technical reminders.
Oh, it's like a series.
Yeah, and Jerry said yes, that's correct.
Okay, let me see. I'm just trying to go to the CSAT survey just to look through. While I find that, can we jump to another question?
Sure, yeah. This one you may have already answered. I wonder if it came in earlier in your presentation, but just for the sake of asking all the questions, Miguel asks, style in custom surveys to be able to center the content. So I know you mentioned styling as something you're thinking about. To be able to center the content, I don't know if that's talking specifically about text alignment or you're nodding. I don't know if you know what it.
Yeah. I know about this. We will. The desire there is to center align, but which part? The survey questions or the thank you message? Which one?
Maybe either way. Are they both things your team is thinking about?
Is that a question to me?
Yeah. I mean, in either case, is it something you're working on?
Yeah, it's something that is in our backlog to do. Yes.
Okay.
We were talking about it.
Cool. Evan asks, will we be given the ability to edit feedback surveys in the future? Once you publish, you're mostly locked in as far as field changes. If we have to update a field, we have to swap out the form in a redirect.
Yeah, I know that one. The draft experience post-publishing, we know that's a need. It's on our radar. I just haven't prioritized yet. It will definitely come after the object associations and the workflows first.
Sure. Sounds
Yeah.
like those are kind of top priority.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Cool. Richard says, in regards to surveys, I want to address the issue with required fields. At the end of a survey, if a user skips earlier required fields, there's awful error messages at the end. Then the user has to figure out what questions they missed. If a required field is required, the user should not be allowed to go to the next step without answering the question.
Oh, okay. I think I've seen this complaint before. I think I just need to dive into like what's actually happening. I would probably need more detail and follow up. Who was that?
Richard Francale? Sorry, Richard. But Richard, yeah. So it just sounds like the moment when required fields are checked and validated to see if they're filled in, he would want at the end of each step, and currently is at the end of the full survey.
Okay, Richard Troncale, follow up. I will send out an email.
Cool.
I'm going to make a blanket statement that hopefully I'm not talking out of turn, but I think a lot of what I see in the questions and what I feel and what I actually experience using surveys is it varies differently from how forms function. And a lot of the desire is that forms and surveys behave similarly in terms of triggering and sending out reminders and just how you can interact with a form with the rest of the tool. Surveys doesn't parody that.
That's interesting to me. When I think about like videos I've published about HubSpot updates, for a long time it was like, feedback surveys just got this, feedback surveys just got this. And people would be like, ooh, does the forms tool do that? No, the forms tool doesn't do it. And now the forms tool just got a huge overhaul. And now all those features are like, this is cool. Can I do it in surveys? I think in the minds of a lot of users, the two are, different.
They're interchangeable because they are like the tool feels like it should be the same because in the mind of an admin, I'm just trying to do the same thing. It's just a different end function.
I understand. And this is something that we're trying to also, like, it's part of our, work to kind of clearly define the different diversion paths for forms versus surveys. I would say forms, because it lives within marketing, it's more focused on lead generation use cases where they're trying to collect a lot of customer information for the first time. So it's focused on data collection and a better editing experience to reduce the pain of having to create more surveys. So I know conditional logic for marketing forms matters a bunch because you're casting a wide net and you can't expect all the different variations of what to ask based on what people say, right? So there's a reason why marketing forms did a huge overhaul and launched Logic. They launched advanced styling and so forth with these powerful tools. When it comes to like surveys, within Service Hub, we're more focused on post-sale or customers you already know. So you're dealing with like an existing predefined population that you already know how to target to. So probably you have a less pain for building so much logic as opposed to building so much logic when you do in lead generation forms. But maybe you have more of a pain of analyzing your data and acting on your data. And this is just me talking, but this is just my current understanding. So that's just what I'm considering down on.
That's really interesting to me. I think that's incredibly insightful. If I think about forms, it's hard to be targeted with forms, right? You're embedding this on a landing page, and whoever comes to the landing page comes to the landing page, and you can make it adaptive, hopefully, to meet the needs of the person as you learn more about them. But they may be a total stranger to you. Whereas feedback surveys, you can be really targeted in what sort of person you're sending, and hopefully there are fewer questions you need to ask up front. You can just get down to the business of getting their feedback on whatever particular topic.
Variations of surveys than you would on a lead generation form to cast a wide net, but again, you want better targeting, so that's why we're trying to deliver on the send email survey action for you to better control targeting and triggering. That's why, and if you're dealing with already a predefined audience that you want to target and get feedback from, how do I analyze it? So is it connected with the rest of my data? So that's why the object associations is on the roadmap. So that kind of explains our different focus going forward, and probably we'll try to really double down on like after the collection. What do you do after that experience more in the future? But that's just my thought.
Cool. Yeah. No, we're here to hear your thoughts. So that's let me get back to the Q&A here. Come on, computer. All right. Miguel is asking about smart rules in surveys to be able to add different language text to the same email. So I'm curious, translations in surveys, is that a thing? I don't know.
So whether it's like AI translations or it's like, I think what you're asking for is like multi-language surveys so that you can...
smart rules. Yeah, I think on like CMS pages and stuff, you can have different variants displayed based on what you know about the person or their location or something, their browser language. I don't know if surveys have anything like that.
No, we don't. It's been less talked about, honestly, than the other questions that I've received. But it's something that we would love to talk with you about if you want us to reach out to you. Who is that?
Miguel.
Okay.
Perdomo. So currently, for people operating in multiple languages, I assume that the thing they would do is just have like, here's our English version of our CSAT survey, and here's our Spanish version, and here's our French one. And they just be separate surveys, and you, again, with the targeting, send them to different people.
I don't know, maybe. I just don't have enough information to.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So Christy asks, ability to send surveys on specific dates rather than enrolling individuals as they meet criteria. Example, send the same survey January 15th and June 15th. So like if you have a regular cadence for when you check in with people, what's the best way to go about that?
Oh, is it from Christy?
Christy, yeah.
Okay, so ability to send surveys on specific dates rather than enrolling individuals as they meet criteria. Send same survey in January and June. Can you not do that currently? Based on, can you not trigger based on time today?
I would have thought so, especially with like NPS surveys and stuff. I think a lot of the best practice there is some recurring cadence, but I don't know.
Okay, got it. I think I understand the question. It's specific dates rather than when an individual meet a criteria.
Right.
Yes, I understand what you're saying. I'm potentially thinking if we do introduce the send survey email action on a workflow, then you would have a lot more flexibility in able to solve that problem. Is that correct? I'm hoping so.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like I was looking actually at our roadblock data year to date, and I think the top roadblock with 22 votes was what could be solved with a send survey email action, and everything else like 5 and under. Yeah, so yeah, I understand.
That's coming, so that'll solve a lot of these.
Yeah.
Cass Vanderkuil asks, will we be able to import feedback data that we retrieve from, i.e. Google Forms? Would be lovely to help clients update their HubSpot NPS based on historical data instead of starting over brand new. So I guess in general, if someone's been collecting feedback with some tool that's not HubSpot, is there a good way to get that data into HubSpot when they start using HubSpot surveys?
Right. So my understanding is we don't have like an import, we don't have a great import solution to import feedback surveys from other tools outside of an integration. No, I need to check if we do have a Google Forms integration actually. Is that what the ask was?
Yeah, the Google Forms is the one they asked specifically.
I see. Yeah, I see an integration partner that offers. No, yeah, I don't think we have Google Form integration. Maybe you could use Zapier because I see Zapier. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm reading the rest of it. So Cass Vanderquill said, would be lovely to help clients update their HubSpot NPS based on historical data instead of starting over brand new. What does that mean?
Karen says there's no Google Form integration. She looked for it yesterday.
Yeah. Let's update their HubSpot NPS based on historical data. I don't know what that quite meant. Help clients update their HubSpot NPS based on historical data.
Yeah, so I think if someone is just starting to use HubSpot surveys, but they've been using some other survey tool for a while, they have 5 years of historical survey data, and they want.
Oh, okay, I understand. Yes.
HubSpot, they want to be able to connect it all together.
I understand. Yes. Mm-hmm. I think Zapier could be the best bet. That's the best answer I could give. Import. Yeah. Actually, that could be a really good use case for a surveys API.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was actually talking with the product manager for a surveys API, and we currently only have the submissions read, but he was looking into CRUD, so like create, edit submissions as well. But that could be a good follow-up actually, when it comes to the use case of like importing survey data from other tools. I will note that. Yeah, I'll send it over. Thank you for that. Okay.
Cool. Jeanette, are surveys still only available in Service Hub? Seems so limiting. Surveys are a Service Hub feature, yeah. I don't know if you have thoughts on packaging and things, Julie, but
what was specifically the question again?
Are surveys only available in Service Hub?
Yes. It's only Service Hub Pro Plus.
Yeah.
I would imagine. Are you guys on which plan then?
Yeah. I suspect it'll stay Service Hub long term. It feels like one of the differentiating things about Service Hub. If you don't have Service Hub, I think some sort of workaround with normal forms and things is probably your best bet. But yeah, that's like it's a pretty core Service Hub feature. If they took that away from Service Hub, poor Service Hub would really be in trouble. Jeremy Lewis asks, can we have more flexibility in reporting, especially with NPS?
How flexible?
Yeah, Jeremy, would love to know more about your use cases and examples and things. Julie, do you want to talk at all about what the current state of reporting with NPS is right now?
Well, today this comes back to what we're solving in our company object association. Today, NPS scores are only reported at a contact level, and it's a drop-down property. It's not a number. So when it comes to like, I want to roll up NPS by company, or I can't do that. I need to like send it to Zapier, use a webhook to like convert it into a number.
Oh man.
And create a company association or a custom object association, send it back. And that I've seen people do that. But the thing that we're trying to solve, and let's see, I'll quickly go back to that slide. Entire screen. So here, hopefully we'll get to, this image doesn't help, but hopefully we get to a point where you guys can check, when you're looking at a company record page, you will be able to look at an average NPS scores for that company as a property. So I'm actually trying to think about where to expose the company object association and where do you see it most? And my question is like, would the company record page be the best place or where else? How would you consume that data?
So I invite all of you to weigh in on the chat on that one. I think that would be a great discussion. I'm going to keep moving us forward, though. We've got just about 15 minutes here and an endless scroll of questions. So Lizzie asks, any plans to have somewhere on the survey object to log follow-up information? For example, when we have a detractor, at the moment, we create a custom object to allow the manager to investigate and work on the customer.
Yes.
I'd like to know more about this custom object, Lizzie, what you call it and what its role is. But I think just more broadly, Julie, if you send out an NPS survey and you get a detractor, what are your options for driving follow-up with that person?
I mean, we have the automations feature. I'm just trying to understand what you can't do with that.
Yeah, I would imagine maybe assigning a task or something could.
Oh, yes. We've seen people automatically create tasks based on feedback submissions by detractor and promoter, and they track that task in like another board somewhere. I've seen people do that. But you can do that today.
Yeah. Lizzie, not sure if you're still here, but would love some more info on that. Let's see. Kathy asks, is it possible to add a HubSpot survey in our signature instead of sending it after the ticket is closed? If so, will the same person be able to answer more than one time?
You want people to answer more than one time?
That's a good question. I'm unclear, but is it possible for someone to answer a survey more than once? I don't know.
Well, we currently have for email, we currently enforce one submission per, I believe, submission. And mainly because we've also heard feedback like we have like low survey response rates. It's industry standard. I think it's like 2 to 7% response rate. So they're trying to give out a lot of financial incentives for people to fill them out, and I don't want people abusing them. So
yeah,
if you want people to submit it more than once, my question is why?
Yeah. But as for the question of can you put in your email signature, you can turn your surveys into like a web page, right? And have a link and just put that anywhere you would put a normal link. So yeah, that would probably work. Danielle asks, I work the support in a technology company. Once a support ticket is closed, our users don't want to deal with follow-up emails. I would like to insert the survey within our replies, ideally using a template. That's another one. I think if you had a link to the survey, you could put it in a template and just include it in your current email thread, right? Probably.
Oh, yeah. Never thought about that one, but it's not possible today because it triggers on the ticket pipeline and when that ticket is closed.
Oh, I see. There's an interesting thing I've never thought about. I will say, as just a human and a consumer who sometimes interacts with support teams, a lot of times I get a completely separate email and a completely separate thread that's just like, hey, rate your experience with our support team. It would be kind of nice if it was unified in that same thread, but I think it's pretty common for it not to be.
Or another solution is user chat survey.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Right in.
Yeah, because the chat, you can collect the feedback during the chat.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys did that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Matt asks, why can't we save surveys when they are set up for lists before you send them? Will you introduce active lists soon? If you did that, I could keep a survey open for a long time. At the moment, I will need to reset up surveys due to the lack of active lists. This is Matt Lineker.
I want to understand that better after the call. Matt,
Okay.
I will send an email to you as well.
Cool. Jeanette is back asking, pretty please, can we put surveys in Marketing Pro? So, Jeanette, we hear you.
My other question is like, what do you want from surveys that forms can't do in marketing?
Oh, that's a fair question.
Yeah, I would be curious to get your perspective on that.
Kathy Bergeron asks, my team uses CSAT and is unable to resurvey contacts. They are only able to survey once. We do not have the possibility to change the recipient's criteria. Is this something normal?
So so this is a CSAT, unable to reach contacts. Oh yes, so for CSAT you can't, but MPS and custom you can. So I can quickly demo what that looks like.
Yeah.
And I know the feature UX, like feature parity is like really not there and there's no consistency, but maybe that's just more proactive education on my part. But this is an example of a MPS survey. But if you go to the recipients tab, and this is email channel, because we're talking about resurveying and that's email. It's in this tab, it's called frequency. And you could choose a recurring option after meeting the required criteria. So you can create your own criteria to say, like, if you sent it, but people have not submitted it based on the feedback, the last MPS date or something like that. Like if you can create a custom rule saying if people didn't submit, you could trigger it. You could trigger the resurveying every month or however months you like. So I would recommend giving that a try. And also it's available for custom surveys via email as well.
Okay.
Okay. Hope that helps.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
Scott asks, any plans to integrate properties from standard objects, contacts, companies, into the survey builder? Right now we have to run a workflow and copy things from the contact to the feedback submission, rather than having greater access to contact properties. Scott, I would love to hear which property specifically you're copying this information from. I'm just mulling this over based on what you said, Julie, about with forms, you're collecting information about people, and with surveys, we sort of assume you already have that information.
Scott says phone number for follow-up.
Oh.
Phone number?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Lindsay also asks a question that kind of feeds into that is the MPS question doesn't map to a feedback property, yet every other question you create does. Is there a reason or rationale why it doesn't map back to the feedback properties?
So when I said the company object association is going to come end of Q4 this year, that will apply to all questions, all submissions being associated with companies going forward. I don't know if that solves your problem.
Lindsay says not attached to a company.
Okay, it's all contact properties. Oh, okay. I need to double check that, but I'll make sure I can follow up on that one.
And then Scott gave some additional context. If we ask our customers if they would like a follow-up and then they ask for the best email or phone number to follow up, right now it's all being mapped to the feedback object and not the contact.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting to me. I'm trying to, because it makes sense in the context of a survey to ask for a phone number or an email, but also if you emailed the survey to a person, you have an email, right? And I'm not 100% certain that if they provide an email or phone number for feedback, you would necessarily want to override the one on the contact.
Wait, I think this question is coming from, like, we already know the phone number, but we don't want to ask for their phone number again in the survey, right?
Maybe.
So I want to associate it to that contact phone number to follow up.
Right. That's what he says. Right.
Yeah. Let me find that for you. I will double check this. Yeah.
I think what I'm interpreting is that information that's collected on the survey doesn't go to the contact object, and that's what we've trained everyone and everything to go, everything we know about the contacts on the contact, not in some random hidden object called feedback where all of this stuff lives. It's the contact where it should be. Sorry, I just got all caps. Yes.
Okay.
I don't know. I guess my question is if someone says, yes, follow up with me, here's my phone number and email. If you have a phone number and email for this person and they provide a different phone number and email, would we want them stored separately, or would we want them to replace the email and phone number we have on file? I'm just trying to think, why would a person give a different one? They might.
Wait, let me understand this. Let's say, maybe I'm not understanding clearly. When you are asking a phone number as part of the survey, then what happens? Can you not associate it with it's, or is there?
Well, say anything collected through the feedback is going to be a feedback property.
Yeah. And the problem is it's not stored
on the contact record.
Oh, I understand. Okay, so it's not updating the contact property. Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's definitely.
And you got a bunch of people saying, yeah, you might not have the phone number when you sent the survey, but you want to follow up, and you ask them, hey, do you want us to follow up via phone or email? If you want us to follow up via phone, we got to collect your phone number.
And then it'd be really nice to have it stored in some place where you can click to call inside of HubSpot.
Correct. On the contact record.
Yeah.
Then does the workflow not work to update the contact property, or no?
He said he's using a workflow, so I assume that does work. But
you still have to map it.
Yeah, then you have it stored in two different places.
Workflow, yeah. You shouldn't have to. Yeah, shouldn't have to run a workflow, is what.
Okay, got it.
To send information from part of your system to the other part of your same system.
And the problem is, I just don't want to create a workflow. I just want it done automatically.
Right. I mean, either I'm going to start speaking for you guys. Sorry, tell me when I'm wrong. But when I create a survey and I have to create a property field, if that property field maps to a field that already exists on the contact record, I want it to just go there. I don't have to go build a workflow to say, hey, now I know this other piece of information. Now stick it over in this other place. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, guys.
Thank you.
Not that I've ever been in this role before.
Okay, so looking at the chat, it seems like that happens quite often. Okay. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Well, thank you everyone for your questions. Julie, thanks for taking so many questions. The one I want to end on here, Annie wants to know if she can get access to the deck you were presenting earlier.
Okay, yes, I will send it over to Kyle to distribute.
Yep, that's perfect.
And then please fill out the survey in this webinar. I know I called some of you out that I want to follow up on, but I can't follow up if you don't fill it out.
Yeah, so everyone please submit the survey. Deanna just dropped it in again. Thanks everyone for being here. I will give us another 45 seconds so everyone has a chance to at least click the survey link and have it open in a tab, even if you're not going to submit it right this second. But please submit it sooner rather than later, so when we send it over to Julie, it has your information in it. But Julie, thanks so much for doing this.
Yes, and I'll give you my email. It's I'll just put it in the chat right now.
Amazing.
Yes, it's.
Ta-da. All right. I'm glad you got that in. I would have guessed wrong. It doesn't follow the format. Apparently, there are some other J. Kims here in HubSpot. Perfect. Well, Julie, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate you taking the time. Everyone, thanks for hanging out for us for an hour, talking about feedback surveys. I'm going to go ahead and shut this webinar down, but hope to see you all back next week. Bye.
Bye.